velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
All right, I want to welcome everyone here tonight to SmashTALK PG, and for us that's SmashTALK Parental Guidance. My name is Liz Harris, and I'm going to be your moderator for this evening. Besides being a moderator for SmashTALK, I am also here kind of as an ambassador of the RKF Foundation. I'm secretary of the board. Rocket Kick Foundation is a very proud supporter of Southern Smash. The mission of RKF is to create and sustain active, fit, and healthy children, families, and communities through programming, advocacy, and education. And Southern Smash here tonight is a movement to bring education and awareness to the dangers of eating disorders, while empowering everyone that participates in the Southern Smash movement to celebrate and embrace their true beauty. Back in February of this year, McCall, who you're going to learn a little bit more about in a moment, had her first SmashTALK at LSU. It was an overwhelming, standing room only success. And what we really learned from that experience was the demand and need for a SmashTALK linked directly to parents and parenting. So that's why we're here tonight, SmashTALK Parental Guidance. It's a result of listening and responding to that community need. So to put this evening into context for everyone and to share with you her powerful and impactful story of Southern Smash's beginning, I'm very proud to introduce the founder and SJA alumna, McCall Manning Dempsey. McCall.
It's so good to see so many of you here tonight, and this is something that we knew needed to happen. And if you guys tonight can start the conversation, and I want to thank Andre for helping us further promote it for those that can't be here tonight. A little bit about Southern Smash and how it kind of came to be. I struggled with an eating disorder for 15 years, and so my issues with body image, and I was never really comfortable in my skin. I didn't have a lot of confidence as a child, and I remember that vividly. And so tonight means a lot to me, being able to hopefully start a new conversation and way of supporting our children and just being role models in our community for young adults. Like I said, my eating disorder started around high school, but I remember times even when I was young as 8 years old having a really distorted view of my body. And I didn't seek help or treatment until, hey Liz, until about 4 years ago. I have a best friend who at the time was a new friend who took my hand and guided me to treatment here in Baton Rouge with Mary Munker, who's here tonight. And they had been by my side through it all. And through that time in treatment with Mary, I did go to residential treatment at the Carolina House. I spent 3 months there, and when I came home, I was far from cured because there is no cure for an eating disorder. Mental illnesses in general, you just learn to manage. And I think what took me so long to find the help and support that I needed is because I didn't feel like I fit into that perfect diagnostic code of anorexia or bulimia. And the truth is that eating disorders go far beyond that. There's so much gray that lies in the middle. They're so complex. And we're going to talk tonight about the obesity epidemic and disordered eating as well as eating disorders. And so that's why I feel so passionate to share my story, and that you don't have to fit into this perfect, what the media italicizes that is, you have to look this big, you have to weigh this much to warrant help and treatment. And that's kind of what we're here tonight to discuss and to talk about. Southern Smash started last November when a wonderful group of ladies called the Soul Sisters asked me to come and share my story. And never in a million years did I think I would be one to publicly share my story and admit I had an eating disorder. There's a lot of shame and embarrassment that went behind it for me as well as for everyone who struggles. And so when they asked me, for some reason I said yes. And I also said, can we do a kind of crazy idea that I have? And they said, what? And I said, I want to do a scale smashing. And they were like, what is that? And he said, it's exactly what you think. It's taking scales and smashing them with sledgehammers. And so, of course, these girls are phenomenal, and they were like, we're in, let's do it. And so me being the epitome of a sorority girl that I always am, I designed a logo, a t-shirt, and koozies, and off we went. And so Southern Smash was born that day, November 16th, and I think we all sat around after and we knew that something magical happened and that there is a need and there is a void in our community here as well as across the country is what I'm discovering. That people want to talk about this, they want to talk about body image, they want to talk about the distorted view that our society puts out there. And Southern Smash, what we do is we give a safe platform to do just that. And so I'm really excited tonight to be here. I'm excited to have this phenomenal panel here with us tonight. And Southern Smash is also part of a mission that I promised a long time ago to pay it forward. I'll never be able to truly thank Mary and Ann and the people up here for the gift of life that they gave me and helped me in the road of recovery. So what I'm doing is paying it forward. And that's what tonight's about. So I thank you for coming out and spending your evening with us, and I know that you're going to get something wonderful from it.
I'm Corey Walsh, and I'm a registered dietitian. I live in the New Orleans area. Goodness, I've been a dietitian now almost 20 years, and I fell into working with eating disorders about 17 years ago, working with the eating disorder treatment team at DePaul, Tulane. And then we transferred to River Oaks Hospital, so I worked there on the eating disorder unit for many years and was fortunate to really learn and understand helping people with eating disorders. And in 2006, I moved into private practice. I have a private practice in the New Orleans, uptown area near Tulane, and see people on a one-on-one basis and work with all aspects of from obesity to anorexia, disordered eating, emotional eating, chronic dieting. I consider myself a bridge between nutrition and emotions. So I'm doing nutrition counseling, certainly doing the education, the black and white knowledge of what a person needs to feed themselves, and supporting them to do that, and then kind of digging around a little, wondering what's going on when they're having struggles. And saying, I think that's a great thing to bring to the therapist. So that's me. Pass it on to Rachel.
My name is Rachel Judd Thompson, and first off, I want to say thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. It's such an honor. This is such a beautiful movement. It's amazing. Thank you. I'm a therapist at River Oaks Eating Disorder Treatment Center, and I've been a therapist for 10 years, and I fell into eating disorder treatment about 5.5 years ago with River Oaks, and it stuck really well. And since then, I'm in private practice. I've actually had a practice here in Baton Rouge, but now I'm solely working in New Orleans. I work with individuals, families, couples. I've done some group therapy as well in outpatient treatment. I am also actually a registered yoga teacher, and what the eating disorder work actually brought me to that place, realizing that we can talk a lot about thoughts and ideas and feelings about our bodies, but sometimes it's learning just how to be in our bodies and learning how to find more peace in our bodies. So sometimes I find ways to incorporate yoga practice through mindfulness and breathing and finding some physical activities for grounding to create that safe, more harmonious space in the body too.
My name is Jeff Swallow. I'm an exercise physiologist working as a pediatric health educator. My specialty is childhood obesity, so on a day-to-day basis I work with kids in the school system and with families all around the greater Baton Rouge area, really coaching them in ways to help their family be well. We work on ways to improve lifestyle habits, to make kids and families more excited about healthful choices, to get kids outside playing. That's my passion, to go outside and play. I get to go outside and play almost every day, so I have the best job in the world. Yeah, that's what I do.
My name is Liz Sider. I'm a pediatrician here in Baton Rouge at the Baton Rouge Clinic. I've been practicing now for 21 years. I am an SJA alumnus, go Stickers, much earlier than McCall was here. And I'm privileged and happy to be here tonight. I attended McCall's first SmashTALK, and it was apparent by the questions from the parents in the audience what do we tell our children? What type of lifestyle, how do we promote healthy living and healthy eating? And so this is so necessary because tonight, hopefully, we're not only going to answer questions about one end of the spectrum, being anorexia nervosa and bulimia, but then childhood obesity. It's all under the spectrum of disordered eating. I am not a specialist in obesity or eating disorders, but I have seen, unfortunately, too many children and adolescents with disordered eating. And so as your pediatrician, I'm probably the first person, not myself, but whoever you take the children to, your pediatrician is going to be the person that your first contact with these type of issues, and then I will refer on to panelists, people like we have in tonight's panelists, and hopefully we can all work together and it doesn't get to the point where I have to be calling River Oaks for an admission to the hospital. I'm not always the bearer of the good news, but we do have a lot of success stories, and I'm so happy that McCall is taking the lead of faith and doing something like this to present to our community the problem that we really do have.
I was actually thinking about that, the word fat, on the way driving up here, and just about the different emotions and the different thoughts that that word brings up in us, and what the word actually truly means, and how just saying that word, I am fat, if you were to take the word fat out, other words can get put in, like I'm a failure, or I'm not good, or I'm bad, or I'm unacceptable, or people might not like me. And so my first thought would be is to check in and see what were the thoughts of the kid who's coming to you with this issue, because it can be very different at different ages, and it can mean different things to different people. And I would want to sit with them and understand what are their thoughts and their feelings as a result of that statement. And from that point, I'd have a sense of where do I educate and what do I want them to know about themselves and their bodies and the relationships that they have in the world. So if the little one is thinking, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me, I would definitely want to do some education around the difference between bodies and how all of our bodies are different, and it's, health and wellness in your body and what that means on the outside, and as far as what's going on the inside and what that really means about them as a person, that they are a good person, that she's a good kid, and she's special, and she's lovable, and she's acceptable, and there's nothing wrong with her. And that our bodies go through different changes. I mean, it all depends on what's going on with her individual body. I can think of in adolescence, our bodies definitely go through a lot of different shifts and changes, and they're really normal, and they're really necessary. So helping them know that it's okay, that their body's changing, and that they are good and okay and lovable just as they are. That's what I think.
I do tend to tell all my patients, God made all of us different and gave all of us different strengths. And I really do emphasize with girls particularly how tall they are. They all get fixated on, well, I'm on the cheerleader team and everybody else is skinny and I'm not. And, and the mother will come in and ask, what's the average weight for a 5-year-old, which drives me nuts. I really try to emphasize, let's talk about height first and then back into the weight, because it makes such a difference of, what's normal really does depend on your height and your body mass index. And I would urge that parent to really focus on what the daughter's strengths are and try to plant that. Obviously one may be a little brighter than the other, one may be more active than the other, and those are the talents that you need to plant, and hopefully they'll flourish. But I feel for you, because that's extremely difficult, two of the same age in the same house and different sizes.
I think that's something that our society has tended to move away from, and I get that there's such busy different schedules and such, but I think that family meals makes a huge difference in setting examples for the children, we have to remember that our kids are really looking at us as the parents as the role models of the eating habits. So, you know, if we're sitting down and eating well-balanced meals and eating when we're hungry and stopping when we're full, these are things that our children will learn. As far as foods, I come from a place of moderation and balance, so I really want people to have wholesome and healthy foods around, but I also want fun foods also. And I think with children, that's really important. So I think the idea of, you know, maybe twice a week having, and I don't even actually need to put a particular number on it, but having fun foods, cookies and milk for snack or things like that, so that they're not special treats or rewards, certainly not making things off limits. You know, have potato chips a few times a week with lunch, and so that these foods are really normalized. And they're, if I think an aspect, and again, this may be kind of veering a little bit away from what you're saying, but if they get the sense that they shouldn't be eating them, or they're bad, or they're off limits, often those foods will be overeaten on, or, you know, that starts the ball rolling. So I think also really having an active lifestyle, and that everyone, the family being involved, showing it as fun and playful and feeling good in your body and having a good time. Again, I think a big aspect of our society is that kids are outside less, and I'll let you really speak to that, but you know, that they're outside less, and the screen time, I think really contributes. And so just having fun play, and it fosters creativity and helps with imagination and strength and feeling good in the body. So those would be a few things that I've mentioned.
I think one of the things that we can teach our kids is to become critical consumers of information and ideas, to not just accept information always as true. And I think that's particularly important with media. Dieting industry and other sorts of advertising, or other sorts of makeup and other health, or even cars, or clothing, all of those different, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time with words today. Advertisers work really hard to make us feel insufficient and not good enough, or that we need something in order to be better, or need something in order to have happiness or peace or joy. And so it's helpful to help our kids learn and understand that, and that this is not necessarily something that is going to make us a better person, or make us more well-liked, or help us have greater success in our life. So teaching them how to see between the lines a little bit. And also helping them understand too that the modeling industry is not an accurate representation of our society. Only 2% of the American population actually has that body type of a model. So they're not most often really representing who we are. So if we look to them for role models, we're going to end up feeling not good enough, most of us who don't have that body type. So being able to differentiate between the two, and being able to, I think, start to appreciate, this is something I think parents can be really proactive on, to balance out that media, is start to appreciate and talk about all sorts of different shapes and sizes and diversity, and honor them and see the beauty in all those different cultures and body types. And that will help prevent some of that getting hooked into the thin ideal that our media does represent.
I think another aspect of the media to think about is the websites and even Facebook. I hear about it from clients that are really pushing dieting and you know, the pro-Anna websites and things like that. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but unfortunately there's some websites out there that actually really promote eating disorders. In fact, a client texted me the other day. She was on Amazon trying to buy a book for her recovery and came across a book called How to Be Anorexic. And I just can't believe that Amazon was selling that. But anyway, so I guess one aspect, and I don't really, generally the family therapist would do this or such, but is looking at what your kids are looking at on the computers, because of these sort of things can be so influential and very, insidious, and really digging in there and putting out bad messages and making it seem like that's the right thing to do. So that would be another thing to think about.
There was also a study that cited promoting positive change or positive body image. That may be the same one.
Might be.
Yeah, that when you try to speak out and advocate for more of a well-rounded representation of all of our bodies in the media, that will help instill better self-esteem. So encouraging to have those sorts of conversations with your children and encouraging them to speak with their friends about that will actually help them feel better about who they are.
Families that I work with in similar situations, I can't say enough about keeping it positive. We don't dismiss the behavior of the other students, but we also don't focus on it at home. So when we're working on those things, we really talk about fitness and physical activity because he's in it as something that's fun. So we don't want you at an aerobics class, or we don't want you exercising to lose weight. We're exercising because it's fun. We're exercising because it's what the whole family does. So we go outside, we toss the frisbee, we play ball, we run around with the dog, we ride the bike. If he likes to swim, we swim. If he likes to run, we run. If he likes to play ball, we play ball. Anything that's getting your body moving. Maybe it's Dance Dance Revolution for an hour every day. Whatever's getting you moving is getting you moving. And then we tie that in with the foods so that when they eat the healthy foods, it's not, we're eating this because it's healthy. We're eating this because it's going to help you be really strong. We're eating the carrots because they're going to help your eyes get really good so that you can see the ball coming faster. We really kind of, everything that we do that's helpful, even to an 8-year-old, we explain that it's helpful and it's fun, and most importantly, that we are all doing it, not because we need to change you or we need to fix you, but because it's just what we do.
We really need to turn the TV off. I can get up on my soapbox on this one, and I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I agree with Jeff. Make things positive and get out there and do something with your child. It's good for you. It's good for you mentally. It's time with your family. So many of us are connected to our phones, to Facebook, to gaming, to internet. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends less than 2 hours a day screen time. I'm not talking about TV, screen time. Now, my daughters went to school here. One of them still at school here. Everything's on the computer. I realize there's a time for that and homework, but it's not as long as some would say that they need to be on the computer. Kids come into my office, and I really used to detest the iPhones and the little games on the stories, and look at this, we can put the heart here, and blah, 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 blah. Nobody reads to their children anymore. Now, I don't know what happened in the last year. I think, these are great. It keeps this baby quiet while I can examine them. But, so there's a place for this, but we have just, because of, where we are today in society, we are so dependent on the screen. And I tell my patients, look, if you're going to watch TV, stand up and do it. You're going to burn more calories standing up watching the television. You might look a little funny, but stand up and watch the TV. And because most of us, when we're watching the television or eating, I do, and that would just alleviate so much of our problem, getting them outside and just turning off the screen. And also get the television out of their bedroom. That has been directly linked to childhood obesity. There's no need for a television in your child's bedroom.
And can they say that Dr. Liz said so?
Dr. Liz said so. I will admit, no televisions in my children's bedroom. I'm hip for mom, but it's not necessary. And if you want to watch a show, you can watch it together as a family.
When I think about combating some of these negative feelings that might be coming up around the word fat, I definitely think about relationship, and that sense of belonging and that sense of being loved and accepted no matter what. And so the more that you can do these sorts of things, spending time with your child, doing enjoyable activities, not focusing on those negative things, I think the more that that seed gets planted, and that can combat any negative statement that anybody can send, because it's just on the outside. It's not the truth that's on the inside. I would want to ask, so how are you doing? How did that make you feel? And just see what kind of words come up. Because the thing that I was sharing with Corey actually on the way up was something to be really careful of, is how we can sometimes put our own reactions and feelings to words into the mix, and we can assume somebody's feeling something, and we might try and assert a response that we think we needed to hear, and it may be something very different than what the little one is going through. And this will only help it be more age appropriate and fitting where they're coming from. So just creating the space for them to talk about what's going on inside their head and their heart. And sometimes that within itself can just really help release a lot of that negative thought and feeling that they have. While you're sitting with them, knowing that that's not true, that's not who they are, that you know and you see them for who they are, the beautiful, wonderful little boy of yourself, of yours. You know, that makes a big difference. And then when people talk about us as if we are just one thing, that feels really bad. And I think that's really helpful too sometimes as parents, to be able to identify that hurts and it's not okay. And actually, a very proactive thing that families can do is they can really work on not having labels in their household. Being able to differentiate or start to stop that kind of language, you are this. For example, instead of I am fat, I mean, someone may legitimately be overweight. You know, I have a higher weight. It's very different between I am fat and I have weight to lose. That's not who I am as a person. That's something that's going on with my body. Using that kind of language will help kids eventually start to see that differentness between my whole self, my identity, and what's happening on the exterior. Does that make sense? I hope.
Yeah, I think that was really great. I'll be using the I have versus the I am statement myself. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure, and I'm going to speak generally. I don't know how this is going for you at home, but I think, you know, whether a child appears a little bigger in their stature, or maybe they legitimately have gained a little bit of extra weight, I think what is so important is for parents, for us not to move into restricting their eating, because what we really need to keep children from the very beginning in touch with is their innate hunger and fullness. And for the most part, you know, unless there are things interfering with it, kids can rely on their hunger and fullness. And so, you know, if parents perceive, they have concerns about their child's weight, or maybe the child brings concerns, so the parent naturally wants to help, and we start cutting back or limiting, that really, more often than not, you'll see the children's weight start escalating more, and can set children up to end up overeating and sneaking food and such. So that would be something I just really want people to be very cautious of. And I think it again comes back to the family dinner table and role modeling healthy eating habits. And again, I say healthy, not meaning like everything's total health food, but moderation and balance and variety and well-balanced meals. I think, you know, having specific meal times and snack times is important, so that kids do arrive to the table hungry, and then they can stop when they're full. And really inhibiting grazing, things like that. Trying to really stick with water, not to say that we can have soda or juice or things like that, but really water and milk. So I guess the big thing that comes up for me is not putting any restrictions on them. Of course, we're trying to do the best, but really can inhibit and interfere with their innate ability. And we have to trust that they're growing naturally. A big thing to look at, I'll get often parents come to my office and, oh, my child's overweight or what have you, but we look at the growth chart, and all along that child has always been a bit bigger in stature or such. So they're very normal, healthy, but maybe parents, might feel that there's a problem with that. But we have to look at that aspect too and know that that's just their stature and trust that the child will grow into their full potential, their natural body, trust that they'll feed themselves appropriately as we're our good guides.
As far as her language and how she sees things, something that's helpful is to just tap in. She's a little more innocent than we are. She hasn't had as much impact of the media, if you're listening to Dr. Liz, perhaps we all have had. And so her description of her experience is a bit more pure, and so it'd be just interesting to hear how she sees the world. And so in describing, I would say, ask her to describe her experience.
It's not only what you say, but how you say it and what you do. Our children are sponges, and they learn everything from our example and how we live in our homes. And I don't know if this is the opportunity to share something with you, but I personally had a very bizarre experience as a pediatrician last week, and about something that was said. And I take care of more adolescents now. The older I get, my patient population age is growing. And this one little girl is beautiful, 17-year-old, and has been introduced to the modeling industry. And some of the things, I spent a couple hours with this family because there were so many problems on so many levels. And one of the things that one of her parents told me was in front of her was that her agent said she was a genetic anomaly. And I thought to myself, she kind of is. I mean, she's my tallest female patient, and has an appropriate weight, but it borders on an unhealthy weight. But she's going to be a mom. And so, the agent told the parent, your daughter is lucky. She is a genetic anomaly. I thought to myself, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And then the little girl told me she's very upset right now because she's hearing things from her parents. Why are you eating that brownie? Well, your legs are getting kind of big. This is what the girl tells me. And then in conversation with the parent says she's bringing it on. She wants to do this modeling. Aren't my pants getting tight, Mama? And why can't I eat this brownie? So when I talked to the girl, she said, I told her, I said, if you were a swimmer and your coach ragged on you because you missed a workout that day, they have your best interest at heart, like your parents do. She said, and I said, so your agent, if you really pursue this modeling career, is going to be all over you about the 1 extra pound you gained. Not agreeing with this, I'm just trying to see where she's coming from. She said, but Dr. Liz, he's my agent. They're my parents. They're not supposed to say those kind of things to me. And I was like, whoa, I felt for her. But I tried to take the side of the parent. The parent's looking at you like this is what you want to do. You want to be the swimmer or you want to be the model. And so we're trying to help you to flourish in that way. And it became so obvious to me that in her mind, certain things were supposed to come from her coach or her agent, but not from her parents. So we walk a really fine line. We walk on eggshells with what is appropriate to say to our children. And I guess I would ask, how do we handle that?
When it's the idea of omitting words, I don't think we can. They are a part of our culture. That's how we describe things. It's how, you know, we connect with people is a lot. Words is one of the ways. So I think when these moments happen, you talk about it and you try to understand, you know, what impression was made, what did that mean to you? And sometimes it's actually reclaiming a word and deciding it means something different. You know, booties weren't always awesome, but all of a sudden booties became bootylicious, you know? And that's the power we have, is that we get to choose what we decide something means to us. And that's what I would encourage there, is to not just try and eliminate, but to talk about things and problem solve, and encourage them to problem solve too.
You know, it was really focusing in on the internal. So whatever the conversation is just really highlighting the inner qualities of the child. I think that's so important. I mean, especially when you do see, you know, children are just so beautiful, and then constantly saying, oh, if they're being told they're beautiful, but then they're not really knowing what else is important about them. And so just really focusing in on all of the positive qualities with them.
It's slightly off topic, but it's something that's come up a lot over and over again, and it's an activity that I give to parents, particularly that have kids that are heavy to the point that physical activity is difficult. What I tell them is that when you come home from school, or when you come home from work, or when the child comes home from school, whichever is first, your first interaction of the day, go outside and walk around the block together every single day. And I did it initially as an exercise prescription because it was an activity that the child could do and be successful at. If I asked a child who was severely overweight to go and run a 5K tomorrow, it would be a recipe for failure. But walking was something they could do, and walking with a parent made it something that they were doing together. The byproduct was that they talked. So if from the time your child starts school and isn't with you on a daily basis, all day, every day, when your first interaction every day is to, let's not talk, let's not do homework, let's not cook dinner, let's just go outside and be physically active together in a method that encourages conversation, then when those things come up, then you don't really have to worry about which words you're not saying, because you'll be saying words. And really, once you're saying words, everything else can kind of fall into place a lot of times.
We talked about the influence of the media, and there is a societal norm. It may not be fair, and it may not should be existing, but we consider different types of clothes appropriate for different types of body shapes. And I too had 3 daughters, and one who would want to dress contrary to that, and finally I just gave it up. And if she felt comfortable, but I went through that too. There was a long time where I tried to encourage the opposite outfit that I thought was more appropriate.
Partly is your job is to be a critical consumer of the media too. Do you buy into certain things sometimes? That, you know, she's an 8-year-old. Is it her job to look thin, or slim, according to what the media says? I would say no. I wouldn't want her spirit to go that direction, that she has to start to worry about what other people think. She's young. And so again, I think when those reactions come up, stop and think and take a moment and be like, okay, where's this coming from? And I think one of the places that I think it comes from a lot with parents is wanting kids to be accepted and liked. And so they're really fearful that somebody's going to make fun of them, or somebody's going to be mean, or they want them to belong and be a part of the crowd. You know, I think as a school culture and a family culture, we have a responsibility to create a sense of belonging. It's not about looks, and it's not about being the superstar, and it's not about, you know, making someone else happy. And that really starts in that relationship. You know, in the family relationship, you have a lot of power to help create a good self-esteem inside of her, where she understands what relationship is really about and what is really important and valuable about her as a person. And then the other stuff, she's gonna play, and then she's gonna figure out the world might hurt her sometimes, but you're there to remind her how special and important she is, even if the world says hurtful things.
And thank you for sharing that, because I know that a lot of us struggle with it. You have to be very brave to say, I'm a parent and I come with my own luggage to this party, and sometimes I unpack it on my children.
So first off, 20 minutes of constant activity for a 4-year-old is a lot. Kids that age particularly play in fits and spurts. It's the way they do. It's the way they do best. So 60 minutes of continuous playtime, that's, Okay, that's what I was going to suggest. If you have the ability to break it up throughout the day, that's actually what's best for them and best for you, because it kind of helps them refocus. And then you can do lots of things in the classroom beyond just free play. And in pre-K particularly, in the good ones, there's lots of free play, and they have lots of toys. I love going into a school and seeing the pre-K yard where they're running around, and there's so much imagination exploding on the playground. But in the classroom, we can do a little bit more to teach them structure of physical activity, and that can be simple things. It can be sitting in the class in their desks and doing stretches and talking about why flexibility is important. It can be, let's stand up and have a race in place where we are gonna, next to our desks, run. We're trying to be, and you can be the one at the front of the room. You're trying to beat me, faster. And it only has to be 30, 45, 60 seconds, and then we sit back down. Tiny bursts of physical activity are going to be great for them. And if you want more things to be more structured, make it play that's physically active but structured. So for instance, have games in the yard where we're going to run and touch the fence and run back, or we're going to do some jumping jacks for the first chorus of this song, and then we're going to stretch for the verse, and then we're going to do some jumps in place for the next chorus, and then we're going to stretch something else for the verse. Just finding ways to get them moving. But we don't want them doing aerobics. If you want to teach them skill, you can have them throw balls or play with hula hoops or work with jumping in front of and behind the ball. A really important thing in pre-K is balance. So get a thick rope. I call it a balance rope, and it's not that thing round, and we just lay it out, and literally we take turns walking across it like a tightrope. And we know, research has shown us that by improving balance in kids, it helps to improve coordination, it helps to reduce the signs and symptoms of ADHD, it helps to improve focus and concentration in the classroom. It does a lot of things. So I feel like I'm just...
No, Jeff, this is good stuff. If you had a resource, a www or something that we can go to.
So for a teacher, go to healthteacher.com.
And we use
Go Noodle, I was going to say, Go Noodle is fantastic. If you want to get in touch with me, I've actually got a packet of stuff that I've put together of activities for the classroom, just quick bursts of activity that you can do. So I can give you my card after, you can email me, we can meet up, and I can give you a folder of resources. And anyone else in the room who wants
And
to.
like for parents, where's a good source for parents to get ideas?
Kidshealth.com.
Kidshealth.com.
Kidshealth.com is an amazing resource. It's got lots of information. You can search activities, you can search resources. There's just, Google really is your best friend. But start with kidshealth.com. It might be .org. I use them when I teach. When I teach, they do a lot of really great things.
I think the older teenagers, though, are at an age where learning healthy lifestyle habits, it's an important time to be teaching those, so that hopefully they're creating habits that they keep with them for life. And so I would be coming from a basic self-care, and that would be fueling your body consistently and sufficiently throughout the day, more often than not with wholesome foods, but enjoying fun foods, having healthy activity, really instilling positive self-care. And then I think, when it comes down to eating disorders or the dieting path, it really boils back to supporting them to know who they are as a person and their self-value, and again, their special qualities, their uniqueness, so, and how to deal with their emotions so that they're not then turning to this as an outlet. So to me, and I think you'll probably be able to expand better, but is it starts a while back in supporting them to be able to have their feelings and their emotions and use their voice and express themselves in healthy ways so that they don't turn to this immediate gratification that I think often sort of gets that ball rolling.
I think it's so important, and doing the work that I've been doing lately and talking with high schoolers and even 7th and 8th graders, it is important to check in with emotions and talk to them, because one of the reasons that my eating disorder began is because I was grasping for something to define me. I was grasping for a way to cope with the anxiety of that, you know, those 15-year-old years when you're trying to develop into your own and break away from your parents, and I didn't have that. You know, I grew up with an older sister, you know, who had the bikini body, and so I latched onto that appearance, and then I latched onto nutrition labels, and I latched onto exercise. And so instead of finding healthy ways to cope through communicating with my family, I turned to my eating disorder. And this is nothing against, I have wonderful parents. We grew up eating family dinner every night. But there was clearly a lack of support emotionally that was a safe place for me to go to. Because I think, especially today, we as families get so busy and we just go. And, you know, lately when I've been speaking at high schools, the girls just come and they break down and they just say, I have been going since 6 in the morning, and then I have practice, and then I have this, and then I'm exhausted, and then I'm trying to find the perfect prom dress. Oh wait, and spring break's next week. They have so much on their plate, and I think that we need to give a safe place to validate how freaking stressed out they are, and a place to say, hey, let's have a PJ day. Hey, sit down, let's talk, let's shut everything down. You know, what they were, I mean, I love what Jeff said about walking around the block. You know, active or not, burning calories or not, it's something away from the home, away from all the distractions. One of our best family vacations was one where it involved on a boat in the middle of nowhere. We had no cell phones, no TVs, and because it was just us. And so I think like getting outside, not only does that get you active, but it also shuts everything off. And I think that is so important. And I think girls and boys right now just need a safe place to talk. So it's really, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring about tonight, is it's, you know, as much as we want to be healthy, we know what it takes to be healthy, but let's cultivate a healthy place for those kids to come and talk.
How do you steer the adolescent away from anorexia or bulimia? Hopefully you started much younger with everything we've talked about tonight, but like McCall said, so many eating disorders arise or show their face in adolescence. Don't be afraid as a parent to address that. Don't be afraid to talk to your pediatrician or therapist or your best friend about it, because obviously as a parent you're scared to death about what's happening to your daughter or son. And more times than not in these situations, there's a lot of anxiety with that daughter or son. And unfortunately, we're not talking to our children because we're afraid to address the issue, because it can be a bad place and it can be something that we don't want to talk about. But don't be afraid to. And you know, that's where you're going to set the boundaries. I'm going to address this issue as uncomfortable as it is, because sometimes that one person that goes out, sticks their neck out and listens to their daughter or their friend is the one that's going to save their life.
I want to add, we tend to talk about a little extra weight, or they've got some excess fat on their body, or their BMI is high. But research has shown us that individuals with excess weight, with high BMIs, that are physically active on a daily basis live longer and have less disease than thin or normal weighted individuals who are sedentary. So if our children are getting some extra weight on them, but they're being physically active, they're doing doing stuff, they're getting outside, they've got a sport they're involved in, you know that overall they're healthy, but they've got their BMIs creeped up a little bit, I wouldn't be concerned about it. And I would let them know not to be concerned about it, because a healthy weight for every individual is not always defined by a specific range of BMI.
The greatest gift that we can give to kids is to figure out our own work with these issues, is to see how do we carry some of these thoughts. How do we buy into some of these messages in the media, you know, and how do we work on loving our own bodies, learning how to change the language towards ourselves, look at health and wellness and happiness versus a certain size or a certain image, or I need to change, make myself look younger. You know, start to ask those questions of yourself and maybe start to find that place of inner peace and acceptance. And that will help them, 100%.
I have two. One that I left in your chair. It's the colorful one with all of the numbers. That's what I call my prescription for a healthy, active life. You can read it. It's 5 simple rules that you can do with your whole family that will help your whole family be healthier. I base a lot of my work that I do around those rules, so I won't read them because you have them. The second one is you're a role model. The first thing you are as a parent is a role model. So if you eat the healthy food, they're going to eat the healthy food. If you go outside and exercise, they're going to go outside and exercise. We can't expect our children to do anything that we're not willing to do. And if we do it with them, we solve a lot of the problems.
Okay, your number 2 was my number 1. I was going to say the same thing. You know, do things with your children. Be active. Spend active time with them and try to listen to them. And sometimes there's a time to say things and a time not to say things. And as a parent, I struggle with that the most, with my Italian temper and my mouth. And, you know, sometimes you just need to sit and listen to what your son or daughter told you, and be there in a loving environment for them. And don't be afraid to address the problems when there's a problem.
Right, well, you all said what I would have said. So I'll just add another aspect of that. If you do feel that you yourself is struggling with dieting, going down that path, or eating disorder, or your child, I really, and this was somewhat touched on before, but this really gets support sooner than later. And because what is shown is that the sooner this is addressed, hopefully the sooner it will be remedied. You know, hopefully, the longer somebody struggles with this, the more ingrained it becomes. And you know, whether that's an outright eating disorder, or disordered eating, or chronic dieting habits, or what have you. So, and if your children are young, you know, you could go, if you had concerns about their eating habits, please, you know, not putting them on diets or restricting their eating. And if you felt that you needed support, maybe you yourself and or your spouse could go to, say, a nutritionist or a therapist that deals with this and get ideas and support, but, you know, not necessarily bringing it to the young one. So really getting in there and dealing with it.
I kind of want to piggyback on what Corey said to wrap it up, and Rachel too. And that's, you know, early intervention is such key. And eating disorders come in all different shapes and sizes, and disordered eating is becoming a normal epidemic in our society. It is normal for girls, young girls, to sit around in the lunchroom, in the cafeteria, and pick apart their bodies. That should not be normal. And so what Southern Smash is about education, is about letting us all know how we can best support our children and the early warning signs and what we can see as parents to help them, and maybe see something within ourselves that maybe we need to go talk to somebody and figure something out. Because like Jeff said, our children can't expect to be doing something if we're not doing it ourselves. So we need to heal whatever issues we have with our food and with our bodies first, and then be really great examples for our kids. Our kids just really want a safe place to talk when they come home at the end of the day. And so thank you guys so much for being here. We, of course, are on southernsmash.org is our website. That is our old website. but also on Facebook and Twitter, and you can find all the information on southernsmash.org. And if you want to become part of Southern Smash, I'm always looking for new volunteers. We're going to be traveling everywhere in the fall to college campuses and to high schools in our area as well, doing Smash events. So I'm really excited for you guys to be here and hopefully join in on the movement. So thank you and have a wonderful night.